Hi, Jane Fendelman, Sunday, Preach from the Mountaintop, February 22nd, 2015. I've talked about willingness before. It's coming up again. I need to talk about it again. I have a number of women, uh, clients, students that I know who are all going through the same thing. And And I am going to speak in stereotypes again. Last week, I talked about being the Dakini, the dancing sky goddess who awakens men with fierce love. This is in that same vein. Although men do this too, I just happen to be speaking to women tonight because I know three women right now going through the same thing, three young women going through the same thing. And I understand. And when I was a younger woman, I made these same mistakes. So I hope this spares somebody these mistakes. And I don't assume that I'll never make these mistakes again. I'm just grateful that I have chemo induced menopause since I was 45. So for the last 10 years, I haven't been driven by biological urges that younger women are driven chemically from their body chemistry. And men and women, and I'm speaking in generalizations here, are different, extremely different in this regard. Women, if you give your body to a man who hasn't asked you to give him your world, a man has to ask you, please give me your world, give me your entire world, because a woman's womb is her world. I'm getting a little hot. I just got off the mountain. I hope you're not going to beep like that the whole time. Thank you. A woman births her wishes, dreams, and desires through her womb. In fact, the Native Americans call your eggs wisdom stones. And a woman births her wishes, dreams, and desires each month with her menstrual period. Everything builds up, builds up, builds up. Every dream that is not fulfilled builds up there in your uterus. And the thing that we mistakenly call PMS and try to drug women for to get rid of, that pisses me off so much that it's a disorder now. It's a disorder. Premenstrual dysphoric disorder. Excuse me, that is so effing ridiculous. It's freaking ridiculous. When a woman is tolerating too much stupid stuff in her life, it builds up. It builds up and builds up and winds up inside her like a clock that's going to explode, like an old spring clock that you just keep winding. And that's what we call PMS. When she finally menstruates, the pressure is alleviated, but that does need to be a prayer time for her where she goes inside and she sets her intention for what she wants in her life. And she doesn't accept anything less. And it's not about expectations on others, it's about standards for yourself. Okay, so I'm aware of a few women lately in my life that are gave their body to a man who had not made a commitment. And sometimes men say things, sometimes men don't want to hurt their feelings, and they say things like, well, it's complicated, or I'm not ready, I just got out of a relationship, or, if they say things like that, they're, they're not ready for a relationship, and don't expect one. Expect to get laid. And women, and I know I get a lot of, I get flack for saying this sometimes, but I really don't care. This is really true, what I'm about to say. Women, either be celibate and wait until you're engaged with a wedding date set before you have sex, or even kiss, even like make out kissing. Make out kissing bonds a woman to a man, because when we make out, when women become sexually activated, oxytocin is released into their system, and oxytocin is the in-love hormone that bonds us to that man. So either be celibate and wait until you're engaged with a wedding date set, even if it's just a holy union. You don't have to get married. I don't care if you don't get married. I don't think I want to get married again. I would have a holy union, though, which looks exactly like a wedding ceremony. There's just not a civil paper. There's not a legal paper that belongs to the state that sanctions your marriage. It's just your agreement. It's just standing up in front of your friends and family and proclaiming your love to everyone. Hey, we're in love, and we love that we're in love, and we want to share our love with you, and we want you to be in love with our love, and let the overflow of our love you. So either be celibate, wait until you have a serious, solid commitment for a promise for a future together before you give your world, give your womb to that man. Or have multiple lovers. Yeah, I'm serious. Either have no lovers and be celibate until you're solidly committed with a man that you're in love with. Don't give your body to a man before you say, I love you, unless you have multiple lovers, because you're going to bond to that man. And I had a beloved years and years ago when I was young and stupid. I had a beloved. I wasted a year and a half. I learned. I took a year and a half out of my life to learn a difficult lesson. And he was a lovely man, and we had so much fun together. And it took him so long to say, I love you. I remember finally, after months and months of us being together, I said, you know, I feel like I can't even remember how the conversation went, because we're talking about over 20 years ago. And I remember we started getting into an argument about it. I remember the first time he said, I love you. It went like this. I love you, all right? That's how he said it. I love you, all right? And then he was fine saying it afterwards, but he would never make a commitment. And his parents had programmed him that a woman would only be into him for his money. And I've never been that kind of woman. But he loved me, and so he couldn't quite let me go, but he couldn't quite make a commitment. And so I would say, well, why don't we have, let's just have a monogamous commitment. Why don't we just have a monogamous commitment? And he would say, I only want to be with you. Why do you need us to say we have a monogamous commitment? You're the only one I want. And that would always stop me, but it never occurred to me to say, well, okay, if I'm the only one you want, why not just make a monogamous commitment? He couldn't, like, make the commitment. He was scared, and he wasn't a grown-up man yet. He was a grown-up, gorgeous man, obviously. He was a grown-up, he was a doctor, he had a full practice, he was a lovely, lovely man. But he was so scared, he had a fear implanted in him by his parents that he had adopted. So he really couldn't take the leap forward. He couldn't grow out of that programming from his parents, which meant that I wasn't ready for love at the time. If you're a woman who's choosing a man who's not ready for love because of some problem, he's got too much alcohol or too much, he's got pot, he's addicted to something, he's a cheater, he's cheating, he can't make a commitment, it means he's not ready for love. And if you're addicted to a man who's not ready for love, it means that you're not ready for love. It's a reflection on you. We choose what is a match for us. So it hit me one day after a year and a half that this lovely man couldn't make a commitment because there was something in me at that time that couldn't believe that I deserved a committed, beloved relationship. And it was great, because the very next man I met was a wonderful, lovely, grown-up man who I almost married, asked me to marry him. So, But that was truly, that only happened after I had chosen celibacy. I realized, wow, I'm sharing my body with man, a beloved, before there's a real commitment for a future together. And it's turning me into a bitch. Okay, frankly, it was turning me into a bitch. So women, you're trying to not, I'm sorry if I'm yelling. I get excited and I talk really loud when I get excited. This is such a huge deal. Women, you're trying not to be premenstrual. You're trying not to be bitchy. And the man won't make a commitment because he's like, wow, you're bitchy. No, I don't want to propose. I don't know if I want a future with you because you're bitchy. Meanwhile, he's laying down with you in bed and getting all that from you. He's getting your world before he's made a commitment and asked you for your world. And when a woman gives her womb, gives her body to a man, before he's decided, yeah, I want a future with you, it twists her just a little bit. It twists her insides. She's taking a huge leap of faith, not just because she could get pregnant or just because he could give her some disease, not just because of that, but because of the oxytocin and the bonding that occurs in a woman when she has sex or when she even just makes out. I'm telling you, I made this mistake way too many times. You got to listen to me. Listen to Aunt Janie. I'm 55 years old. I know this. Don't even just keep making out with the same one boy unless you have a serious commitment for a future together, because within a few months, you will find yourself getting a little bit bitchy. And if he says, you need to handle that PMS thing and then come back when you're more pleasant and I'll like you better, and then he'll screw you again, and then you'll get bitchier the next month and it'll build and build and build, and finally you'll have a big blowout, or you'll just shut down, and you'll shut down sexually, and he'll walk away or you'll walk away, and you'll both wind up scratching your heads wondering what happened. The feminine way is a deep heart and soul connection. Men do the feminine way. They do it, especially enlightened, grown-up men. You can do it the animal way. You can do it. The masculine way is linear. This is what we learn in Tantra. The masculine way is linear. It's point A to point B. It's a straight line. Men think in terms of their goal. Women do too, but men are predominantly left brain logic. The goal is to get in her pants and get an orgasm. For most men. I'm not saying for all men. I told you I was going to stereotype in this video. Please don't get your panties in a bunch, okay? Or, post your opinion, and I'm happy to hear it. By the way, women, if you want more information on this, you need to read a few books, and you need to get my download on my website, janefendelman.com. The download is called The Women's Lib Sucks CD. It's the Women's Lib Sucks download. Women's Lib Sucks. The Feminine Movement. That's the name of the download. I really don't care if I offend the feminists. I am a feminist. I'm so powerful in my feminine energy that I don't feel threatened whatsoever by letting men be in their power, by allowing man to lead and serve me. I don't feel threatened. So you need to listen to my CD, my download, Women's Lib Sucks CD. You need to get a couple of books. They're called Getting to I Do and The Rules. Please read those two books together. The Rules is very behavioral, concrete. And if you don't understand the mental, emotional, spiritual background to the rules, you will wind up becoming manipulative. And you won't get what you want ultimately and permanently. You'll only get what you want temporarily, because there won't be any depth to it. If you read Getting to I Do alone, you won't understand in concrete operational ways how to proceed, what to do, what to actually do. So you have to read those two books together. and also get my Women's Lib Sucks download, because I studied all these teachings and I synthesized all these teachings into these simple concepts. And the Snake Prince is on that CD too. The Snake Prince from last week when I did my video. Okay? So have sex with everyone, or have sex with no one. Or have sex with just your beloved in a committed, monogamous relationship with an intention for future. Okay? That way you protect your heart. I mean, I honestly, really, recently met two young women who were both crying over the same man. Two women. And it's unnecessary if a woman will just guard her sacred space and only allow a righteous man into that sacred space. That's your yoni, your womb. Inside the womb is a sacred spot. In white Western culture, we call it the G-spot. In Tantra, we say that the sacred spot stores every single pain and pleasure that that woman ever experienced. The sacred spot holds every single second, every experience of pain and pleasure that that woman ever experienced. A sacred spot. And that with his lingam, the word for penis, which translates to wand of light, the job of the masculine is to light, bring light into the sacred space. And knock on wood, I don't think I could let a man in unless I really know he's going to be there the next day and the next day and the next day. And I'm happy I'm not a young woman anymore. With those urges, that body chemistry. And I'm oh so fulfilled by my deep friendships and love for my family, my work. I'm blessed. My dancing. If you have a broken heart, take up a new hobby. Something new that forces you to expand and learn something new, and use a new part of your brain. Change your mind. Sure, mope for a little while. Have your broken heart so that your heart can be broken open so that it can hold more love. But don't wait for somebody who's complicated or unwilling. I'm not saying relationships are always easy. I'm just saying it's way easier when both people are willing to communicate, to work on it, to be together. My heart goes out to you if your heart is broken right now. Call me up. Do a session with me. I'll help you. We'll do a severing ceremony. And you can release that person and move on and be happy.